You're now tuning into the Who and How Club with your host, Eris Dejan.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Who and How Club, or shall I say welcome back, actually. It is January 6th. I want to wish everyone a happy new year, happy 2020. I hope your new year has been great so far. I mean, I'm not sure if this whole new year thing means anything to you. I know a lot of people get into that zone, like new year, new me kind of thing. Not sure how everyone spent their New Year's, but I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Christmas too. For me, like, I write things down on a weekly basis, but I did spend New Year's Eve night just writing things down, planning some things, just getting my thoughts and my feelings all in one, all together, you know what I'm saying, and just writing things out so that I have a clearer understanding of what I want the next few weeks or next few months to look like. But I do this on a weekly basis anyway. And I ended up working on January 1st, actually. So, not quite sure how all of you spent your New Year's, but I hope it was a safe one. And I just want to say welcome back to all the club members. We got a lot of updates, a lot of good news. I hope you guys got a chance to listen to episode 17 where I made a few announcements. Please go back and listen because some really important information was in that episode. So for today, I'm not really talking to you guys. I actually have a guest on the show that I'm going to sort of input. The episode was already recorded and we filmed it as well. But I wanted to talk to everybody first and just, start the new year off right. And I mean, it's January 6th. We're 6 days in. So I needed some time to collect myself before I talk to you guys and girls. But today you're going to have a chance to listen to an interview with someone that we had on the show who is playing a pretty key and important role when it comes to the Who and How Club and the way our new year is starting or kicking off, let's say. As I mentioned on the last episode, we have this new event coming, or our first event of the new year, Who Are You Part 2. Now, Who Are You Part 1 was our launch party, and we decided to bring back Who Are You Part 2, which is happening actually this Friday, January 10th, 2020. So if you're in the Toronto area and you want to come see what the podcast is all about, meet me, meet the people that I've worked with, meet some of the guests that we've had on the show, show up to 211 Geary Avenue. I'm going to put the address in the description. And if you go online at whohowclub.com or at whohowclub on all social media, or even follow me at only1eris, you'll get to see the event information. And this Friday is just going to be a dope night. We're going to celebrate the success of the podcast, 18 episodes in. This would be the 18th episode, of course. We're going to celebrate the new year. We're going to have some music, some drinks, some prizes. We'll probably do like a little raffle so that people could get some Who and How Club merch. You'll also get some products from one of our brands that we're an ambassador for, Goddess Glow. And what else are we going to do? We're probably going to just dance the night away. We got a couple performances as well for the night. And you're just going to have to come out and just feel the vibe and feel the energy. You know what I mean? We're building this. And we got a lot more good news coming. So for going back to today's interview that you guys are going to get a chance to listen to, it's actually with the venue owner of the venue that we're having the event at. His name is Joly. I mentioned him on the previous episode. So we pretty much like went to the venue and just had a conversation and got to know who Jay was and what running events means to him and his background and his upbringing and what his outlooks on life are and art and the venue scene nowadays and comparing it and pretty much turning Geary Avenue into like the new downtown. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys enjoy. Get to know Jay. I recorded it off my phone app, so I hope that the sound is good enough for you guys to hear everything. I'll make sure that the volumes are just right. But connect with Jay. I've tagged him on my social media as well, and you'll get a chance to meet him this Friday as well. So listen to the episode, enjoy, get to know Jay, the person who we've partnered up with to, run this event, and hopefully we'll be doing more events in the upcoming months. We know that this Friday will be a success, and we're just very grateful to everyone who have continuously supported the Who and How Club. This is a dream of mine come true. I brought an idea to life, and I didn't do it on my own. And I want to thank everybody who have had some sort of involvement, and you, the listeners, who keep supporting and promoting the show and the podcast and reading the blog posts and everything like that. So again, for all the event details, go on our social media, Who How Club, at OnlyOneEris or WhoHowClub.com, and invite all your friends. Come celebrate with us, take some photos, and just meet, and let's vibe out. Let's start the new year off right, all right? Enjoy the interview, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Actually, sorry. I hate to use the word interview. It's really just a conversation. You guys know how I do. It's just a conversation. Just meeting people, standing, sitting, just talking, getting to know who they are. Even if I don't know half of the things that they're saying, I provide the space for them to talk, and for you as the listener to get to know them. And sometimes I got to go and listen back and realize, like, you know what, I actually learned something new in that conversation. And I take a lot away from the conversations that I have with people. Even if the experiences aren't as direct, we're getting to know these people and their lives and how they see things and what they've seen and the knowledge that they have. And just, keeping the circle going and the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of life and love and perspectives. So Jay dropped a lot of gems on this episode, so I hope you all catch it. All right, talk to you soon. Later. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Who and How Club. It's your boy Eris Dejan checking in again. This is episode 18, and I want to say thank you to everybody continuously supporting the movement. I hope everyone has had a happy holiday, however you chose to celebrate it. Hope everyone was safe. We're not off for the holidays. We're still having conversations. We're still getting to know people. We're still celebrating. It isn't the new year yet, so we got some things to wrap up on. And you guys are tuning in, listening, being flies on the wall, being, little folks in the corner, just listening, being privy to this information that I'm sharing with all of you. I invite people onto the show to just get to know who they are. I'm connected to them in some form or fashion, but also I'm having strangers on the show, people I don't even know whatsoever, and just getting to know them, just sharing information and experiences. So once again, shout out to everybody tuning in. Episode 18. Touch base with the club at Who How Club on all social media platforms. WhoHowClub.com is the website. And of course, you follow your host at OnlyOneEris, who is me. And we're going to just get this started. Today, I have a special guest on the show. He's a gentleman that I met about a month and change ago. I think it's been about a month and change. I was in his venue attending an event, and he kind of stuck out to me out of all the people. Not only him being behind the bar kind of stuck out to me, but just him as an individual. His hairstyle, what he was wearing, how he moved. I wanted to connect with him. So I had a conversation with him, told him what I did, told him about the club, the Who and How Club, that is, and said, hey, let's do some events. And he gave me his contact. We were back and forth on text and email. And fast forward to today, we're here having a conversation with him. So I want to bring Mr. Joly onto the show, Joly.
And Joly's good. Or Joly,
Joly,
come off my
Joly,
Joly.
Right? How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Very relaxed. Having a big event tonight.
Yes.
More live electronica, and some DJs.
Yes.
It's going to be, I think very festive. I'm hoping there's going to be a few, holiday jingles. Some mistletoes being hung right now, I can see.
So we're gonna get into how unique of an individual you really are. But first, I want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing us to do this, and we could cheers to that.
Cheers
right.
to you and your health.
Thank
Santé,
you.
as we say.
We're drinking out the Who and How Club mugs today, just celebrating. My mug obviously has something non-alcoholic.
We don't know your life.
But we're enjoying. We're drinking and we're just having fun, and we're going to talk.
I do speak a little bit of French. I actually went to French school growing up for 5
parfait,
years.
parfait.
So I know I'm very familiar.
Oui.
I understand it more than I can respond sometimes because I'm actually in French class now, refreshing up.
Perfect.
Because after French school, I never had French friends to practice with. So I've kind of lost some of my French. But maybe talk about your background. Are you from, where are you from?
Where am I from? So if you look, what is my heritage, I guess, is, my mother's side is English, and my French side my dad's side is French or French Canadian. So Joly, c'est non français. So it's not a lot of people say Joly, like, oh, you're very happy. It's
Joly, yeah. There's no double L though.
No,
it's
I'm very
one
pretty.
L. Yeah.
It's very different.
Joly.
Joly.
Oui.
So I'm very pretty. Evidently.
You guys will see that on the footage.
Yeah.
For sure.
So in terms of where I'm from, I guess unique, but not unique to everybody. My father was in Canadian Armed Forces. I was born on a Canadian Army base in the former West Germany during the Cold War. It's called Baden-Baden, West Germany.
Baden-Baden.
Now it's just Germany, as you know. But my original birth certificate said I was born in West Germany, so product of its time. And I moved around every 2 years while I was growing up. I've lived in La Belle Province, Montreal, Ottawa, Calgary a few times. I lived in Europe 3 different times in my life. I have family in Sudbury, which is my dad's side of the family, and I have family in mostly Victoria in British Columbia, which is my mom's side of the family. And that's actually where my mom and dad met 50 years ago and got married. So, and I'll be going back there on the 1st, back to the West Coast.
Okay, and for me, when speaking French, I love French. I love, my mom taught us French at a young age, and I hated it because I was like, Mom, why are you forcing this on us, my sisters and I, But in retrospect, it was very beneficial having 2 languages, especially being from Canada. I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like everyone should know French, which is the, What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like everyone should?
Well, French or whatever, people decide what their Canadian heritage or Canadian heritage means to them. I think, if you lived on the West Coast, it's probably more Mandarin and Cantonese you learn as a second language because it is kind of like a new Pacific Rim out there.
Yes.
A lot of people would say, well, if you're going to learn something, maybe you should learn an indigenous language, like First Nations language.
True.
If you really wanted to, pay tribute. I think I think at a very, my parents put me in it in senior kindergarten, and I was in French immersion until well into high school before I went to university. So for me, I think it's like learning a musical instrument. I think it programs your brain differently, in my opinion.
Yes.
So I think the value of the language isn't necessarily the language you choose to use, but the fact that at a very young age, while you're still a sponge, that you're exposed to this learning, especially an immersive kind of learning, where you're kind of forced to read, write, eat, and shit French kind of thing.
Yes. I think you told me you had children, correct?
I have one son.
You have one. So is him knowing French or learning French important to you as a father?
Well, he's doing a little bit of French now, I think, like I said, it's like as much as learning a music instrument. I think French made a lot of sense. He wanted to learn French. But I think, if he chose to do Spanish or Swahili, I'd be just as happy with that.
Yes.
I think they would be all valuable. My thing is I wish I could, be a little stronger on, I know a few romantic languages, just enough to be dangerous, like Spanish and Italian. I wish I could speak a little more fluently in both of those.
Yes.
The other one is, I lived in Germany for a significant amount of time, but I really can't speak German. It's a very different whole muscle group in your language brain.
I can only imagine. I don't.
It's a very
I want to learn Spanish after French once I perfect my French once again, and then Spanish. Hopefully, I'm half Italian, but I don't know any word of Italian. But I do want to learn more languages, and I can only imagine like Italian, Spanish, French. They're a bit similar, but there are languages like Arabic that I'd love to touch on, but I know that that's just a whole different, to expand your brain on learning that, or even to learn Cantonese or Mandarin. I know those are very difficult languages to learn, so.
Yeah, well, I think if you could do it young enough, I think it's just, as you get older, everything feels more difficult and arduous, and oh my God, what am I going to do? But I think, if you really genuinely immerse yourself, and especially as a kid, you don't know what the fuck's hard is. You're just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this.
You're just doing it.
You're just doing it
for the first little bit. You're exposed to it, and that's it.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, like, as we get older, everything kind of seems a bit difficult. What, from your perspective or your experience, what's something else that's a bit difficult being an adult?
My thing is just, I think
languages.
I think the hardest thing is just time management and trying to get everything you need done. I think there's, as you get older, it's easy to get, distracted, and harder to find time sometimes to read that book or do that, especially things that are your pastimes or things that aren't your job. I think, I hate to say it, but as you get older, you can become a lot more sedate.
Yes.
In the way you conduct your life. You come home from work, you make dinner, you sit in front of Netflix and watch like 4 hours of Succession and go to bed.
You want to catch up.
Yeah,
right?
well, there's so much content, there's so much good, and I'm bad for that as well. But then you realize, like, shit, I haven't read a book in like 2 months, or I haven't done this, or or forcing yourself actually to leave your home to do something, to experience. I think a lot of experiential things I find are getting. It's way too easy, I think, to sit at home and plug into something than it is to put your shoes on and walk out when it's -10 out to go to a museum or go see a movie,
an art show. You ever leave your phone at home? Have you tried that, or that's impossible in your lifestyle now?
Well, I turn my I do believe in a certain amount of presence, like turning my phone off, like but I'm as bad as anybody, I would say sometimes. Like I can go down a fucking death spiral of social media if I'm not careful.
The rabbit hole, the rabbit hole of YouTube.
Get on there, and, like YouTube's particularly, because I'm such a, like, when it comes to the moving image, I can get really captured on really dumb, trivial things like obscure band histories that somebody's done a video for it, and I find myself on all this like 60s psych. Learning all these, and then Spotifying, and I find it's like, there's 3 hours of my life that I was supposed to be doing.
You still come across something, though, so you do take something away from it, but when you look at the clock, you're like, did I really just spend 3 hours, 4 hours in this little, like, I just got lost in something, you know what I mean?
But I do feel that there's, one of the things that I struggle with, and especially the last few years, is actually reading. I find, like, putting your head inside, like, either I really like nonfiction, like especially biographies,
me too.
And putting yourself into those kind of things, and really, like, in those things, when you pick them up, they're like 400 pages if you get a light one. The last one.
It takes us forever to finish a book now.
And you start it, and you kind of like, and I literally have like a pile of books probably like that high that's all in various states of starting.
Yeah. I have a mini library at home, and I find that, like, now that I read, when I do read, so I have a schedule that I follow throughout my week. So I read on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sundays.
Well, that's good.
But when I read, I have to write things down as I read, as if I'm studying the book that I'm reading. Like, I can't just take a book, sit down, and read it. I got to make sure I write these things down, because that's how I'm going to remember the things that I'm, indulging in. Because throughout the rest, those other days that I'm doing, like, social media posts, going to the gym, work, obviously, etc. Like, you just forget. It's so easy to forget when you get older. Like, you got so many things going on. It's like, I got to write everything down.
Well, and there's a feeling that, like, time does, as I say in my mid-40s now, does tend to move faster. There's this, there's a thing, and I think it's just, it's that feeling. You just know that a day isn't as long as you thought it was. It's just like, for some reason, when you're younger, and there's, especially if you don't have a lot of, heavy burdens or responsibilities, especially after university, you feel like there's a lot more time to fit stuff in. But as you get older, responsibilities and all this kind of stuff, I think you do have to really, you have to have strong discipline and a rigor to kind of, that's kind of one of my New Year's resolutions, is how do I fit like an hour of reading. And, I was even like, for me to read a book, I had an Audible account, and even Audible, I found what I was doing is even listening to Audible, I'm listening to it on 2.5 times faster. So everything is like, because I want to just like jam it in there. So I'm always like,
I haven't tried an audiobook yet. That's something
Audiobooks
I'm
are good.
afraid to try.
But right when it was
I
great.
like holding the actual book in my hand, like the tree is in my hand.
Well,
and
there's
I
certain
get to,
books,
you know.
Yeah, well, there's certain books I wouldn't do it. But if they're kind of
Some
more
self-help books, it's easier to listen to. I'm assuming.
Yeah, self-help or just kind of like professional development.
Yes.
I read this. My last book I listened to was this David Byrne one about the history of music, which is great. I only wish that a lot of the music he was talking to, they actually integrated into the production, because he kept talking about things. I'm like, I gotta go look that up, or I gotta hit Spotify. And same way, like one of my favorite audiobooks was actually the Beastie Boys book, the Beasties book, because they actually have all these guest stars and they have music, and it's actually an awesome audiobook to listen to. It's one of the best I've ever listened to. Even if you're not a Beastie Boys fan, check out their Audible book. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience.
Okay.
But what I found was when I discovered it's kind of one of those things like when I was listening to audiobooks, and then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, you can actually make the guy talk 2-3 times faster. And like right when I discovered that, now I can't listen to it slow.
Right.
Like I went back to listen to it, and it just like
I have to try, but I'm waiting for like the right book to choose. Like, okay, this is my first audiobook that I'm gonna indulge in, and I always wanted to get those like the actual pad where you could put all the books in. What are those called? Like
a tablet, or like a Kindle.
A Kindle or something. Yeah,
I don't know. These big stupid phones now are like basically Kindles. Manageable Kindles, but I never had one either. I'm still a paper. I still actually like the idea of the artifact.
I'm trying to hold on to things. Like we don't have CDs anymore.
Well,
if we get rid of books, it's like everything will be digital. You know what I mean?
Well, but you look at some parts of the world. Like there's a great actually a book I read. It's been a couple of years now. But it's called The Revenge of Analog. It's quite an interesting book, and it's again part of what even I'm involved with is vinyl pressing, vinyl records, not even CDs. Like CDs are like this format that's this year vinyl outsold CD.
Vinyl, so we're bringing it.
Well, vinyl is the oldest music format there is other than sheet music. It's been around for 150 years. But it's been on a growth curve of it's 10, 12 years, almost 12, I think 11 or 12 years of double-digit growth, like 11 to 14% a year growing. And it kind of started, my math isn't quite right, but it really kind of, when you saw like 2008 is really where this kind of vinyl actually started to go up rather than being flat, which it had been, which it had basically nosedived and then stayed flat, because all the indies and dance labels still pressed vinyl. But then all of a sudden, 2008 came around, and there's a bunch of things that happened. Obviously Facebook was taking off, all of these kind of different platforms were taking off, but at the same time the other thing that was really interesting is like Record Store Day was born in that 2008. And the other thing was it's when also a big shift in music, because you talk about CDs, but remember CDs transitioned to iTunes, which was downloading music. In 2008 is where downloading turned into streaming. So when streaming happened, people have unlimited playlists, and what again younger demographics were realizing is the artifact that actually holding some, like you talked about a book is like the LP
tangible.
is when you pick up a record, it's actually, it's a very human scale. It's a big piece of art. It plays, it's slow listening, it slows everything we just taled about reading as well.
But not just holding the physical thing in your hand, there's also the process prior to, like for an example, like if your mom was giving you an allowance on a weekly basis, you would, like the process to get to that piece of art that you would hold is like, it's so, like I miss that. And it's like we'll never get that back. You get that allowance, you're going to the record store, you're spending like an hour trying to pick out which album you want to buy for the week, whether it's on vinyl or CD, But that process is gone. Kids, my kids will never know what that's like.
Well, but that's the interesting thing is kids are at 2008. They rediscovered, because of Record Store Day said, hey, go visit your local record store, and then they go in, it's like all these artists that have never been repressed. A lot of this stuff on vinyl had never, obviously a lot of the top 40 stuff and popular stuff has been repressed onto CD, but there's a lot of stuff on vinyl that never got repressed. That was its last format. Right. So to find some of those old, especially weird soundtracks and stuff, they're quite, like you look at the Discogs kind of phenomenon. People know exactly what albums are worth. They know exactly how many are out there. There's a scarcity. There's an economy to them.
Yes.
And really, like, you know, they are a piece of art because there's only a certain amount of them around. And, you know, if you have one of the first pressings of, say, I'm just trying to think, Velvet Underground, you know, the one with the Andy Warhol cover with the banana.
Yeah.
Well, there's only a certain amount of those. Essentially, you kind of own an Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Like, especially those first pressings. Like, when you think about it, it's no less strange than looking at pre-CBS Fender Stratocasters and saying, well, this was a mass-produced thing. But there's actually only a certain amount of them around. So people, obviously, if you look at the price of these guitars, like Fender Stratocasters, it's millions of them on the planet. But if they're pre-CBS, all of a sudden they take on this whole other aura.
Teach me, what is that Fender? What is the Fender? What?
Oh, it's a Fender Stratocaster. It's a very famous electric guitar.
Electric guitar.
Like it's the one Jimi Hendrix. Like there's two kinds of guitars. You probably see one of them's a Les Paul. Okay. Which like a Jimmy Page would play, and then the other one that you see, well, there's a third one too, which one is the Telecaster. But the Stratocaster is when everybody thinks about electric guitar, they generally think of the Telecaster, which is, you know, a very iconic. But the funny thing is about that Stratocaster, there's hundreds of companies that have copied it. That shape has never changed, but there's this narrow bandwidth of, you know, the original Fender pre-CBS that are ridiculous. Like many, you know, if you buy one that's not pre-CBS, you know, a very nice one that was made in the 70s, compared to, you know, one of these ones that's, you know, early 60s, late 50s, it's like it's many multitudes of value, even though it's the same guitar. It just has a little bit more patina on it, maybe. But
I was looking at the time, and I noticed we're 20 minutes in, and you've already dropped so many gems that I'm going to have to revisit this episode and look up myself, which I appreciate. Well, this is good. Like, I'm learning as well by listening to you talk, and I appreciate it.
Well, I am an old prick, you know, so...
Let's rewind it a bit, because we're going to talk a lot about vinyl and stuff like that, and your connection to that. I want to ask you, like, how you as Jay, if you want to show what that initial stands for, but just
no, it's Jason.
Jason, right?
It's funny because there's a lot of where that comes from is a lot of people called me, you know, JJ, and just it's funny that it evolved into J Joly at some point, right? Where people actually say my full name. Because
was that an artist name at any point? No. Were you an artist at some point? Like, did you create?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Were you a rapper, like a Beastie Boy? You look like a Beastie Boy. Like,
I'm from the era of the
boy
Beastie
who is
Boys.
Beastie. Yeah. You are him. Like,
I guess so. I was a musician for years.
B-boy? No. Okay.
Like, you know, so before you saw me with this is a new venture I'm involved with some great partners, which is, again, this is going to be right now when my partners bought the building.
Hold on. We'll get to that. All right. But when it comes to you, who you are as a person and how you look at yourself, who are you? Like, how would you describe yourself to the people who don't know you?
I would say, you know, I probably bore a little too easily. I think life's an adventure. I've done a lot of very different, but my career path has been, one thing has always led to another. I was, you know, went to university. I did a lot of like music composition, stuff like that. I played music. I have, you know, my 20s were filled with playing music. I still love music, and wish I could get back to. Another thing I wish I could get back to is my guitar. And I tried to actually have gotten my calluses back, but, you know, even there was years and years where I never even touched a guitar, and this was something I used to play for hours a day at a certain period of my life. And you know, I was a touring musician, so we. Toured with a lot of really fun bands. We were always one of those great opening bands. You know, released a couple albums. It was called the Van Allenbelt, a little 3-piece power trio, math rocky, you know, 90s kind of refugee of that kind of music that was, you know, when that was kind of, it was a real kind of, for live music, there was a certain zeitgeist going on then, especially in the early to mid 90s, when I was playing music. And, you know, I had the great fortune of playing with some great bands like the Tragically Hip, Primus, you know, got to did a roadside attraction. So I got a lot of great opportunities. We never became one of those big headlining bands, but, you know, we also didn't write any hit songs. We were a very conceptual kind of band, very experimental. So, but we were but I learned a lot being on the road, and touring across Canada and down through the U.S. It was a great learning experience. I've always been a child of cinema, so after doing music for a bunch of years, around 98, I moved to, or 99, I moved to Toronto and pursued, I actually wanted to be a cinematographer and shot a short film. And then I kind of got into the film industry at the very bottom level, and like literally I call it dragging cable through dog shit, and then kind of worked my way up. And in the last few years, me and some others have produced a couple movies. We produced a couple movies. One of them is more well known as Wolf Cop. Wolf Cop. Yeah. So as producer, we did a couple of those, and we got a couple other things up our sleeves.
Yeah, there's a sequel as well, right?
Yeah, another Wolf Cop.
Another Wolf Cop.
He's right over there.
Yeah.
It's a stuffed animal of him over there. And with that, produced some soundtracks with it, and I have a tech company still in Vancouver. We're a partner over there, and we actually built a platform called TELUS Story Hive that helps TELUS disperse money to it could be music video, short film, of any creatives in British Columbia and Alberta. Yeah. It's a platform I'd love to see expanded into the rest of the country. We worked on that for many years, helped design it. When we were there, I think it's deployed almost $5 million into independent artists to do video, from webisodes to music videos. Right. So that was it, and the company's still doing that. We're working with TELUS on another project called Stories for Caregivers, which is basically, it's that other part of when somebody gets really sick, is the people that have to actually care for that person. And there was just a hole in that kind of caregivers, so we actually deploy money into production companies to get caregivers to tell their story of dealing with like their mother with Alzheimer's or their husband with cancer, and to help other people that, when you have this hand grenade thrown into your life and somebody is, very, very ill, that it kind of consumes everybody. And a lot of those people, it's like you go from 0 to 100 and you're just like in it. And that's something we've been having we had a lot of success. People have been we've had some great people involved with it, like Jan Arden and Biff Naked. So that's something, that
I had the biggest crush on Biff growing up, man. Biggest crush.
Well, she's
the tats and everything. She was like the first girl I saw like all tatted up and everything, and I was like a buck, right? And I'm like,
well, it's true. She was one of the first actually individuals to be, in the public conscious to, be.
She's bad. She's a bad chick, man.
To be, well, it's that kind of West Coast vibe.
It's yes. See, I'm listening to you speak, and I'm laughing because, like, to me, you are an artist. You're a creator. You've created, and you keep yourself busy with. You're in the field. You know
I
what
make
I mean?
shit.
Like when
I like making shit.
Yeah, when I saw you, I knew that you weren't just a bartender. And I think artists recognize other artists, other creatives.
Well, I hope not.
I'm
learning the bar right now because I own the joint. So
I'm like, guy can't just be, who is that guy, So I'm hearing you speak about the things that you're passionate about, the things that you've been involved in. From I'm thinking at the times that you were doing things like touring with bands and stuff, I was at home watching things on Much Music as a little baby, but now I get the opportunity to meet with someone with you with such experience to learn from and to just share with. We're from two different spectrums, but
well, it's like you can learn, I guess, from people's life experience. I've always put myself out there. The nice thing about when you move around a lot when you're a kid, you kind of learn, you grow up kind of a bit faster.
Yes. I can relate to that.
You're always having to deal with some kind of adversity moving to a new school.
You got to adjust.
Dealing with bully, dealing with shit. You always got to deal with shit. So you learn how to kind of walk between the raindrops.
Yes.
But you also realize that, you just kind of, because you're being forced to reinvent yourself every couple of years, it just becomes kind of part of your life cycle. It's funny, I always had friends that would say, oh, it must have been hard to move every 2 years. And I would look at them and go, must have been hard to stay in the same place. I got to reinvent myself every 2 years.
Yes.
You're still the guy that fucked up when in grade 7 that people remind you of.
Trust me. I can relate to that, man.
So I always feel like when I hear about people coming from having spent all of their life in a small town before they moved to a big city and just realize that seems to me a lot tougher than... Anyway, but everybody lives their life. Maybe there's paradise everywhere, right? And but I just but my life has kind of always been there's a continuity of just when things present themselves, if they're something I seeked out or it just landed literally right in my lap, is to take advantage of it. sometimes it's like, it's that bad cliche where luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Like sometimes you don't always see opportunities, but that's when the luck steps in, when you're actually prepared enough to say, oh shit, I can do this.
Do you believe in bad luck?
I don't know about that. I guess everybody kind of secretly, I think everybody's always like has a healthy paranoia and superstition. I think in the back of your mind you're always thinking, well, is karma really real, or is bad luck something that's, because a lot of times I think it's just people can only see like, negative things in their life, and that somehow overshadow all the good things in their life they've taken for granted.
But those negatives could be the positives as well.
Absolutely.
If you see what comes out of those negatives and what spirals out, it's a chain. It's a snowball effect, right?
Yeah. For sure. And I think people lose context. Like I think people do, no matter where you are. Like I'll be out with some dudes, like and they'll be complaining about all their jobs. I'm like, you're like a dude that lives in fucking Toronto. Like, honestly, what do you have to complain about?
Yeah.
Like, what your boss shit on you on your job? I'm like, think about someone that's living, like, in just any other part of your country.
There
like,
are people
think
that
about
wish
Syria.
Yeah.
Think about,
I was just going to say Syria.
But people get so, like, fucking... Oh, sorry, pardon my
French.
But they get so wrapped up in this box, this existential crisis they put around their life that I think sometimes you got to kind of step back and go, holy shit, you know what? Yeah, I didn't get this and I didn't get that, but I'm like, this is like living on a fucking cruise ship, Toronto. Like, it's a joke.
It's funny you say that, because on episode 17, I had spoken about being so involved in something that you can't see outside of that thing you're involved in. Like, so you can't step outside of your own box to look from the outside in to see, like, hey, things aren't that bad, or maybe I do need to adjust, or look how far I've come. Because we're so involved in what we got going on, we can't see outside of this little sphere that we've put ourselves in. But it's like that job you're complaining about, there's somebody that exists that wishes they had a job to complain about. When some women that I talk to, they get upset that they don't hear from me right off the bat, like every day, all day. I said, there's a kid in Syria that, like, someone's dying right now. Like, someone didn't wake up this morning, and you're complaining because you can't get a hold of me when you want. Just be patient.
You don't even have to go as far as Syria. You can just say, look, there's like, there's a woman doing your job that's getting paid less than you are.
Yes.
Your exact job.
Yes.
Like, you don't even have to go that far.
At least you can get a hold of me.
Are you a god or a goddess? Are you searching for a product that will deeply detox your skin and reveal your glow? If so, then Goddess Glow is the product for you. Goddess Glow specializes in all-natural, 100% vegan and cruelty-free products designed for your skin and body to detoxify the skin while deeply nourishing in order to reveal your inner goddess or god glow. Some of their most popular products right now are vegan lip scrubs, whipped shea butters, and aloe butters. Palm Bliss and white tea are some of the flavors that the vegan lip scrubs come in. Now, Goddess Glow doesn't currently have a website. The website's coming soon. But for all of your inner goddess and god beauty products, follow official Goddess Glow on Instagram, and you could touch base with its owner, Athena, to get in touch with her or make some orders. Whether online or in person with Athena, make sure you use promo code WHOHOW to get a special discount. You could either text WHOHOW online to Athena, or when you see her at some of her vendoring events or anything like that in the city, always mention WHOHOW, and she'll hook you up with something. All right. Once again, touch base with official Goddess Glow online to inquire about these beauty products that I just spoke about. Now, even though the name, is called Goddess Glow, men can use these products as well. I've been using these products, hence why I've connected with the brand. But I do know that Athena's coming out with an all-male line, which will be called God Glow, and that'll be for us men. But I've been using the Goddess Glow products as well, face masks, lip scrubs, etc. I got my mask on every Sunday and wash it off, and every time I wash it off, I feel like a brand new person. I see my glow. I feel good. I feel my glow. You know what I mean? So touch base with Athena. She could give you guys more information on the products that she has, and bring that goddess glow and that god glow out. We're all gods and goddesses, but it's up to us to bring that glow out. So do that with Goddess Glow, and you could get like me. With that said, let's get back to the show.
I wanted to ask you, like, okay, when I was younger, right? You mentioned something earlier about, like, you had to grow up a bit faster when you were younger and stuff like that because of all the things you went through, moving around, etc., which is something I can relate to. If I fast forward to where I am now, I think I'm having the most fun in my life now. I feel like I'm more of a kid now because I'm enjoying life now. But when I was younger, I was more mature than the average kid because of what I went through. So I'm having fun now. I'm 30 years old. I'm doing what I love. But I look at life a bit differently compared to how I did when I was younger because I had to be so mature. What's fun for you right now in your stage of life? Like, what's in your fun category?
I guess, well, I've always tried to, structure, I'm a high-risk individual. I realize that, I don't really, I generally put myself in a position where there's not really a lot of fallback. Like, it's kind of like, it's like you have to do it. You have to do it to win it.
Yes.
Or because the other thing is it's complete failure. And you try, and it's, again, when you start to build more businesses, ventures, and especially stuff that I'm attracted to, which is more high risk, disruptive stuff, or stuff that's just by its nature, it's got tight margins, like, a venue, food and beverage business with
it's a risk.
Record press.
It's a risk.
It's a record press. It's never been done before. So you're, but
taking a chance.
Well, you're taking a chance, but the other thing is, there is, ideas are infinite, I like to say, and then execution is everything. So, really it all comes down to the execution of the idea. Because the idea can be very sound, but it can be mishandled. There's a lot of other things. I'm simplifying. Like anything, there's a lot of things it needs. It needs brain power. Every real, idea that is a venture, especially if you're getting other people, you need to be able to, pitch your idea to, like, investors. You need capital. It needs to be, capitalized. Although it's easier and easier to start little businesses with almost little to no capital. Especially if you're dealing with kind of stuff more online or mobile. But again, it's a very noisy industry, as we know.
So so taking risks is fun to you.
Well, I think the whole life is a risk, right? I think my big thing is there's, I say that it's high risk, but as a human being, when you have like 80 years on the planet, your whole fucking life is high risk. Like when you actually look at it, like you look at some poor bastard on the 401 going to see his, his family, and he's in like a 20-car pileup and gone. Risk is all around us, and it can consume, if you really, dwell on it too much, it's paralysis. You're not going to move. You're not going to do anything. But if you just accept that everything you do is risky, then then by definition, it's okay to take certain risks, but also manage people's expectation that this is what we're going to do is high risk. There's a high chance of failure.
Yes.
So any work and time, and it's not always just money. It's just actually sweat equity. Like even getting this business to where it is today. We went through a year of with another venue, dealing with neighbors that didn't want us to have a liquor license, misinformation. Political interference, like you learn a lot about municipal politics when you're dealing with, and civil kind of concerns when you're dealing with stuff like a music venue.
Yes.
Toronto likes to say it's a music city, but try and open a new music venue. It's like everybody's like, oh, we love music, we love culture, just not in my backyard. Maybe down the street, just not here.
Not where I live.
Not where I live.
Go somewhere else.
But
I'll visit.
We love live music,
right?
And it's kind of that. So I think, politically, we're at some day we have to reckon. Like you can call us a music, and Toronto is a music city. Like let's be honest. Like it's like there's so many musicians that not only live here but move here, and even this strip Geary that we're on right now. Like there's 2 big rehearsal studios. There's recording studios. There's a history of music along with light industry and stuff up here, and that's part of the reason that we're here is to add to that culture. But make no bones about it, the lip service that music is given in Toronto, I think that we need to start living up to it in a bit bigger. And this was the venture that we're standing in right now, and what it's going to become. It was all private money, people's money from the music and entertainment industry that kind of said that, they just said, we all love music. We know the, I spent 10 years in Vancouver watching one live venue go down after another under the the bulldozers of condominium building. It's very easy. Culture can disappear, and it's very hard to bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. Our entertainment district downtown, like the club scene, is like null and void at the moment because of everything they've torn down to build these condos and stuff. So to find these little pocket areas, like of course we got Kensington, which is a main. We know the hipsters and everything. The arts is in that little. Yeah,
but we had a tough time in Kensington opening up people's perception of what they thought our building was going to be and who we were.
I think Kensington, there's a benefit. If you're already there, you're good. But to open something new, maybe you can have some,
Well, I think there's a lot of idiosyncrasies, but but I do also empathize with somebody like residents around Ossington when it exploded, and that a lot of it came all at once and kind of overtook. So I do think that there's a balance, and I think what even Deputy Mayor Annabelle Lau is doing up here on Geary is actually a very, very shrewd and thoughtful way to develop what is being called Geary Works in the satellite map right over there, which is actually identifying this 1.5 kilometer strip of Geary of light industry and creative and everything from body shops to sculptures to photography studios to Portuguese bakeries is on the strip, along with the kind of the greater goods and the Blood Brothers and the guys like us who are doing something kind of more high concept. What I love about all these businesses is everybody's actually kind of making something. Like not only are they running a food and beverage, but in our case we're going to press vinyl. In case of like Parallel, they're making
it's art.
Yeah, they're making lots of different stuff.
Let's celebrate art. Like let's not pigeonhole ourselves and just be this one little thing or like describe ourselves in one way.
Yeah.
We're not just a venue. You're not just a venue for folks to come and hold an event at. There are other things attached to that has history attached to it. Not just be a building where someone could come in and just do whatever. Like there's something attached to that, and it's all the celebration of art.
Sure.
That's how I look at it, and I'm glad to have our first event back with the podcast, like being at this venue in a couple weeks from now, because like it says on the flyer, it says art, music, drinks. Like that's what we want to celebrate. We just want to celebrate the creatives and just get back to that and have fun, make things fun again. You know what I mean? So thank you for allowing us to do that, and
it's my pleasure.
When you look at yourself again, going back to you, in what order does this go in for you? Because this is what I see with you: businessman, creator, father.
Well,
Frenchman. I'm joking.
Frenchman.
But
I don't know.
In what order is that for you?
Well, I guess it's hard to it's put it's if you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably give you a different answer. But I don't know. I think by necessity. Like anything, you always wish you were a better father, for sure. You always wish you were a better, you try and different times in your life, you gotta, there's things that you always have. It's not regrets, but, let's call it work-life balance. Depending what part of, if you're starting something new, like a startup, the work-life balance is very difficult. Like, because you're trying to make it work, you have investors' money. There's a lot of pressure to make shit work, and then inevitably something has to suffer. So if you put three categories, at any moment in my life, one of those things is going to be suffering at the expense of another.
Something becomes the primary when something becomes secondary or third. Again,
because money is one thing, but because money is infinite, but time is actually quite finite. Like you can't, If you look at grains of sand that is your life, not to be too cliche, but it's like there's only a certain amount of them in the hourglass. I don't know how many there are. I don't know how big my hourglass is. But
it can run out, though. It can run out.
No, the only thing that I can guarantee you on this planet is you will die on this planet. That's the only thing we know about civilization.
I'm immortal, so I don't know. But yeah.
No. It's just like, it's like the old joke. It's like exercise, eat right, die anyway. You can't actually change that. No one gets off this rock alive. Let's look like there's nowhere in the history of humanity has anyone got off this rock alive.
So why do we work so hard while being here? What is it? What is our purpose? Like, why do we put ourselves through the things that we do to achieve these things if we have this knowledge that we're just gonna leave this rock anyway?
Well, we know what we're going to do, but like again, time moves fast, but time is also very long if you don't have purpose. Like I don't think human beings are born not to. I think there's purpose to your life at some issue. You don't know what. It doesn't matter why you're here, but you know everything. Like what got you out of bed today to come and hunt me down. This is all your juice doing all this.
Yes.
And of course, the camera is not moving itself. I know.
What fly?
Yes. And so all of this stuff is like you giving yourself a purpose with this stuff.
Yes.
So I think whatever it is that you choose to fill this time in your life with, if it's going to be like, if all you want to be is like a great baker. This is what I'm passionate about. This I love yeast. I'm gonna kick the shit out of bread for the rest of my life, and the cool thing is you can probably, if you really devoted yourself to that kind of very linear, distinct career path, well, not necessarily career path, but just passion path, you're gonna learn something every day about bread. Like every day, if you're real about it. Or you can just be the bread guy that comes up with one recipe and just shits it out for the rest of his life, and it's like just punching the clock every day.
Yeah.
But I think there's different levels of
we make the world
pursue.
in that sense. We make the world go around. Like the person who's so passionate about bread and bread becomes their lives, or their life or whatever. Like the guy who does a podcast will never understand why that person is so obsessed with bread. But that's the purpose, the individual purpose that we bring to this life, individually and also externally. Well, because we all want bread. There are people who want bread. There are people who want to hear conversations from everyday people.
Oh, absolutely.
To see if they can relate to somebody. There's someone who feels so alone right now, and after hearing our conversation, they're gonna feel something bigger than what they felt yesterday. Feel connected.
Well, that's a strong aspiration. Let's hope.
I think it's true. No, there's these individual. We all have these individualistic purposes that we serve and bring to this planet.
Oh yeah, for sure. And all you have to do is look at how many varieties of bread there are, and how many bakeries in the city are making, that are known for this or that or the other thing, or croissants or this. And it's true. It's like you can be passionate about everything, and if you do it if you execute and continue to force and again, I think this goes back to where we started was that idea of forcing yourself to find time to indulge in things like the experience or the reading or listening to music, slow listening, not just putting stuff on random and shuffle and jamming it in your head. Like that you curate what you want and how you teach yourself. Say I'm going to read this biography on this guy I know nothing about it, or this woman that I know nothing about, but I'm gonna, but there's something about this person's life that, I'm gonna, I guess
take away from it, take something, learn something, learn what not to do versus what to do, maybe.
Again, create some kind of, habit around making yourself do to learn, and I think sometimes passion has to be full. I think you have to refill the tank. You have to find it.
Someone told me that if there is no passion involved in anything that you're doing, then you don't even care about that thing. There has to be passion attached. Whether it shouldn't even be forced. Like you must be passionate about the things you're doing, or else you wouldn't be doing it.
Well, let's hope. I mean? There's let's hope that everybody could experience that. But it's also I know there's a lot of people that are a certain part of their life they're taking big sacrifices to be able to support another part of their life, which is family, friends, whatever it is. So there's always going to be some kind of give and take in your life. Like, let's not be, unless you were born, honestly, to, I don't know, some super rich family, some blue blood, and you just, you're floating.
They're probably struggling the most, but that's another story, right? Because what is being rich?
I'm not even saying rich, but I'm just saying because a lot of, unfortunately, everybody has to pay the rent. Everybody's got to put food on the table. There's certain things like the human condition that, I'm not saying you have to be, but I think there's certain things that help you, it's. I think it's tough to make decisions when you're hungry, for instance.
It is still funny that we put ourselves through all of these things and these passions and these pains, whatever, and still with the knowledge that we're going to die one day, some of us still want to serve, you know? Like, I look at myself as I like to give. I'm a giver, and I think that brings me true joy. Even though I know I might die tomorrow, at least I know I spent it trying to give to somebody, you know? I provided someone an opportunity. I shared pieces of my story that hopefully someone could relate to and take something from it. So I think for us who are serving, like, I look at you as a server, you know? You're a part of a space that provides people opportunities to grow their audiences, let's say. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Do you look at yourself as that as well?
Well, there's always
a giver more than a taker?
I think my whole life I can say that everything that connects to one another, it's like I've always been involved in entertainment, and entertainment by its nature is to serve. It's to create something that, this is just a brick and mortar version of this is a big circus tent. I can put any animals in here I want. If it's this animal here, this strange animal, or something else. But ultimately, you know, if it was, you know, through producing movies or you know, doing music, ultimately they're all very arrogant business models, because what you're saying is, I'm going to create a business model where I'm going to get people to leave their home with good money that they can sit at home and watch Netflix and do whatever they do.
Come see me.
And they're going to
come see what I created.
Get an Uber or a car or a bike or walk.
It's kind of selfish.
Come here and they're going to buy something they could easily buy themselves.
Very arrogant.
You know, it is a very arrogant business model. And so how do you get people to do that on a consistent basis so you can generate, you know, and the creators you work with. The product has to be good. The product has to be good. The offering, the experience has to be great.
Experience,
and entertainment is ultimately experience.
Yes.
You know.
In your field, right? I'll ask some personal questions here when it comes to the business. When it comes to the business side, and like you know, curating these spaces and allowing people to, you know, do their thing. What's the most off the top? What's the most successful event, let's say, that you've been a part of? If you could think of in your mind, if it was really successful and you were like really proud to.
What that I designed and.
No, maybe you allowed someone. You were sort of behind the scenes, but you allowed an event to happen. What about it was so successful that you looked at it and was like, you know, I'm happy I let these guys or
I've
girls
had lots
come
of like fun events, like, you know, like I did like this event we used to do at BAMF when we were running this thing called Sineku that found Wolf Cop. You know, running those events where we would get like 200 industry decision makers in a room, 5 like unknown filmmakers from across Canada to do, like, you basically financed their picture in a room. Some of those were really super exciting, you know, playing in, you know, like I said, in Roadside Attraction 97 on huge stages across Canada with people like Los Lobos and Loco and the Hip, obviously.
Yes.
And Sheryl Crow. That was, you know, obviously that's like
another person I had a crush on growing up, but
But I mean, those are very exciting. And I had nothing to do with it other than being, you know, at a time and place where we were, the folks that were headlining, Gordon the Voice, just had an appreciation for the kind of music as these young idiots playing like really silly music that we really liked, and you know that they felt could be somebody that they could take out to help open their show. Which, you know, it's kind of humbling at the time. I think, you know, the fact that we didn't get to do just 1 but 2 but 3 of these little stints with them was quite exciting at the time. And also just, you know, getting shit done, like when you execute on a product and deliver something. If it were, you know, even when the digital agency I described with Telus, is just getting that thing out the door, turning it on, and all of a sudden these platforms that we're doing are an event unto themselves, because we're giving away money to really cool filmmakers. Some, you know, could, you know, and really looking at diversity and really looking at different kinds of filmmakers we want to give the money to. So just to be able to turn on even a digital product or a platform like that, watching all these people just come to it and upload their projects and, you know, connect and start to just churn and show why they should get this money over somebody else is always kind of exciting to see all the new stuff that kind of floods in.
What would an unsuccessful event look like to you?
Oh, where you totally just shit the bed.
Yeah,
this could be an unsuccessful event tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not kidding.
I don't know.
I know.
No, I think there's. I think you got to take your. You know, you can't have a good like even me, even when like going back to when I'm touring, like you could have a really great show.
Yes.
And then, you know, the next night it just, for no other reason than just guitar goes out at 2 and you break a string, you do this, the audience is shit. You know, like There's a million reasons. Or you just play like garbage, like
Yes.
pure garbage.
Yes.
And you don't even know why, because you played like 10 shows in a row.
That
you've been
were
on the
great,
road.
yeah. Or it could just be the night that it's on. This one night, it's just
sometimes
not,
you're not
no one's
on.
coming out the house. No.
So I think it's like, I think it's dangerous to look at, like, because anybody can armchair, general anything and say, well, if I did this, this, and this, it would have been just as good as anything else. But, I don't, you can't go backwards. You can't reverse engineer and think, well, because it just takes one little thing to go wrong, or something that's, to your point, is the superstition. Maybe your mojo's off.
Yes.
You don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like the planets are out of alignment. I don't know.
I always felt, and I don't know if you agree with this, before I started getting into events and like putting on events for like other artists, I sat back and watched first. I sat back in the back of the room watching other people run their events. And I always found that there were people who weren't artists putting on these events. And I felt like they didn't understand the artist, not struggle per se, but just what artists go through when it comes to performing, or just coming out of my house, bringing all these people here to see me perform. So I'm like, I want to be that artist that puts on events for other artists, because I understand, especially with the podcast. Like, I'm an artist myself, creating a platform for my colleagues. So
sure.
Did you ever feel like events are best curated by artists as well, by artists themselves?
I think, it's hard to say, because, like with everything, it's called film business or music business for a reason. It's not called music friends. Like, you do actually, there are people that might not be creative, but they know how to promote, they know how to market, they know how to this, and they know, and you can be the best artist in the world, but if you never leave your bedroom, then do you even really exist? Like, it's just kind of like, there is a certain amount of that whole experience, like entertainment, getting people out, performing, and it doesn't matter if it's an art gallery or if it's a book. Like, at some point you got to take your book and you got to live a life of rejection, sending it out there, or it could be a screenplay, or it could be getting your art into a gallery, or basically trying out for a play, whatever it is. If you want to talk about the creative kind of pursuits, there is a life of rejection. There is, it's a very steep hill to climb. It's the chance of success. Like, there's like, look, if you want to be in the music industry, you want to be in the film industry, that everybody shares one thing: 99% failure rate. Like, when you go in, what are you going to do to make you're that 1% that's going to make it? How are you going to change everything to be that 1%? Like, no one ever tells you that when you're starting out, and when you pick up a guitar and think, I'm going to be a rock star, and then it's like, oh my God, 99% failure rate for bands or actors or directors or, entrepreneurs, startup entrepreneurs, a filmmaker and someone who starts a startup company, like a mobile app or something, 99% failure rate, and I think people, when they get out of bed, it's like, every day you got to get up and say, well, how am I going to change my reality to be that 1%?
Yes.
Like, it must be, it's tough, right?
Yes.
And how do I get up and force myself to do that? And it's not easy creative shit. It's actually the really hard business, like managing money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I'm just telling her to save the film, because we're good. We'll just do audio now.
All right.
For people who are in your field, let's say your field of business, what kind of advice would you have for them? If any.
I think you gotta, there's a lot of tenacity. There's a lot of, you gotta do, like you say, well, you saw me tending barn. It's like, well, I gotta learn that part of it. I'm going into this business. I gotta figure out, I gotta learn it all. Just like in film, I had to learn everything from Dragon Cave Roll to, like, I just feel to be really good at something, you need to understand all the machinations of it. And right now, while we're redesigning this place and running these events, I'm using this opportunity to understand customer needs, to serve people, to your point, to see what kind of people kind of gravitate to what kind of things, to understand, what events work and what events don't, even stuff that's outside my knowledge. Like tonight, there's, although I'm a big fan of electronic music, like, the mixture of live electronica with DJs, and also looking at the time of the year, like, are people going to leave their families and come out tonight? Like last night, we had a event on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I saw it online.
Yeah, and it was, not bad.
Yeah.
Really great show.
Yeah.
People did come out. And in Toronto, obviously, there's a density, so that there's enough people around that are genuinely looking for something to do.
Yes. There's always, yeah.
And if you can promote and you can pierce through and reach those people that are looking for something to do, that's the alchemy of the whole thing, right?
Yes.
So,
what are your favorite kind of events to kind of like host or like allow to happen? What are your favorite type?
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess this one is more like I don't know. I think I like stuff with audience. I like stuff with some kind of creative capital being presented, like some kind of somebody's like creative original juices. Like if I opened a venue and all it was cover bands, I'd probably get bored pretty quick. Like if all I did was have DJs playing other people's music,
yes.
I'd probably get bored pretty quick.
Yes.
Like the nice thing about this evening is there's 4 people that in some capacity are producing their own music,
yes.
that just happen to be playing, some of them playing it live, some of them playing their music in combination with other people's music in a DJ set.
Yes.
So I think, for myself, I think that the ability to present original music in a compelling way, and it could be like I said, this venue's going to be, it's all about anything from death metal to fucking free jazz, but it'll be highly curated. It'll be like, and even if you're not into the genre, that what they're going to present is probably pretty good, even if I'm not comfortable with like speed metal. If I went, if I was to see speed metal, this would probably be the night to go see it. If this was, like even last night, I had a friend of mine who is the founder of like a very, a stoner metal label who came in and was dancing. He goes, "This is great. Love, we had 3 women DJing. One of them runs her own record label that we've pressed a couple records for, Biblioteca.
Yes,
really solid.
I saw that online,
yeah, and she's doing really experimental, really interesting stuff with independent artists all over the world. We just did one with her from the UK. The other one I think was from, gentleman was from, I want to say Edmonton, somewhere out west. She's probably going to kill me that I've forgotten. But Golden Grey.
Yes.
So, that type of stuff excites me, the ability to kind of discover new talent, to let something shine through, to watch somebody else discover, like, oh my God, these guys are awesome.
Is building a community important to you? Like,
for sure.
Like you want people to say, okay, 211, that's the spot to be at, and you're just building bridges. Like everyone.
Let's hope. Let's hope we don't screw it up.
What's another goal? Screw it up. I think.
I'm kidding.
I mean, what's another goal that you might have?
I think like anything, you always want a certain amount of sustainability and success from your endeavor. There is. Trying to protect the people that have invested in you and stuff like that, and be able to show some kind of return and work hard. That's always pressing, and the stuff that keeps you up at night, if you like it or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you doing what you've always wanted to do? If you look in retrospect, when you look back at your life,
no. I think whatever you think you're going to do as a young person is it's like fools. It's a fool's errand. Yeah, it's like. If I look back at when I'm 19, it's like, I really wanted to be like, a fireman? Like, when you realize it's just like, it's not, that's why I always said it's like, even in university, although I did a lot of music and music composition, I really did like kind of a general arts degree. And I always wondered like kids that really were really specialized, like I'm going into hardcore engineering or hardcore this. It's like, to me, it's like everybody should actually learn. Like when you do your if you're going to go for post-secondary, first do a general arts degree for a couple of years. Learn a little bit about things. Doesn't matter what it could be, geology, it could be chemistry, it could be fine, like sketching. But force yourself before you specialize. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of, like when I look at folks that are from a very early stage, it's like, well, I'm going to be like, go down this path, and I think that from it they're like, if they don't, you don't have a lot of time to experiment, so it's good to be like experimentation, especially when you before you have a family and before you settle down and before you start like racking. And I know it's tough for especially this generation because it costs so much to go to school, and rent is crazy. Like I can't even it's just like
doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, well,
some things don't make sense anymore, man.
Yeah, nothing makes like people can't afford to
live.
People.
Live.
Well, even like I look at even my son, like he's in Vancouver, and even to look at what he he may not be able to afford to live in the city he was born in with the way the rents are going.
Right.
And especially if you look at the way inflation, salaries really haven't kept up with the rate of inflation, especially rent. Not even close.
They're going down. Salary. I'm looking at, I'm in the social services field, you know what I mean? And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've lived on my own since 18. Yeah. And I would love to go to school now. I would love to learn something new, but it's like, how do I balance that? It's hard to learn new things nowadays unless you're getting it for free. And even then, you got to make some time for it.
Oh yeah.
And then you're like you said, you're putting something else on the back burner just to put something else at the forefront, so you could gain some sort of new knowledge, new experiences. So time management is very important.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'm not even that good at it. I wish I was better, but it's always something. I think you gotta, like anything, it's like a muscle. You gotta kind of work it out,
practice
to
it,
keep it. You gotta practice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that everybody has the details for next Friday's event. We're doing this on what's the date today? December 27th or 8th? Today's the 27th. So we got the event Who Are You Part 2 happening on January 10th here at 211 Geary Avenue. Now, you have me on my toes because I keep waiting for like a name for the venue. Right now we refer to it as 211.
Yeah,
are we going to get a name for the venue?
I think so. We're playing with a few of them. We experimented. Like, we've been pressing records under the name Liquor Donuts.
Liquor Donuts, yeah.
But, and donut being a kind of inside baseball of what the nickname for a 45 RPM record, and the fact that this press is in a bar, or going to be in a bar.
Yes.
We've been. I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those things we slowly unveil. But a lot of it, it's like the more you say like 211 Geary, the more kind of. I
like saying 211.
Yeah,
just saying like, 211, 211, whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of and it's. My thing is I never like, it's kind of like blanding. It's like it's almost too easy to call it 211 Geary, but at the same time it's kind of, if you say it often enough, like anything, it's like it kind of sticks in your brain and it's hard to imagine something else. So
no, I agree with you. Even just saying 211, there's an R&B group named 112, so I'm thinking those numbers are there, right? I think I could hear people saying, I'm going to 211 this Friday.
Yeah.
So come out next Friday, January 10th. Celebrate the new year with us. We're going to celebrate art, love, life, music, just everything. And we're just going to vibe out. We're going to have a few performers just sharing pieces of their work and who they are. I'm going to share pieces of me, and you're going to get to know more of the podcast. You're going to get to know Jay. And we're going to start off the new year pretty good, pretty like on a high note, I would say. So we invite everybody out to this event next week. The flyer is going out tonight on all social media platforms. So at Only One Eris, at Who How Club on all platforms. Jay, you want to share your platforms as well?
We could do Instagram's best right now. It's Liquor Donuts, which is 211 Geary. We do have a 211geary.com. Just if you ever want to book an event or a show or a private party, we're doing that as we renovate, and we hope to have the new iteration of whatever 211 Geary is going to be called, which will be essentially a 200-person, venue for music, art, comedy, whatever, with a record press, and that will be kind of right smack dab in the middle of Geary Avenue, which we're really excited about.
Next summer is going to be popping on this strip. This will be the new strip for the city. I see it.
Well, yeah, it's definitely very unique. It's interesting to be in this neighborhood, because even when I lived in Toronto for I was moved to Vancouver, which was around like 2008. It's like Geary was like, you came up here for like after hours part. Like you didn't even really think about this place. And now with all the stress and all the artists getting pushed more and more north, because Queen is like,
it's about time.
The Junction, Geary, I think that corridor is going to take a different kind of importance, because it's kind of where the scene is moving now.
Yeah. That's kind of like, where like Midtown in a way. Do we consider that mid, or mid is more north?
I think it's getting more like I would say Eglinton, but to your point, it's like where the interesting thing about Geary is like, if you lived on Queen, where you might not go up to Eglinton or St. Clair, Geary is more kind of approachable, and guys that are at maybe Eglinton or St. Clair, where they might not travel all the way down to Queen, they might say, oh, you know what, I would say it's a midpoint rather than being midtown. I think there is something. And I'm talking out of my ass here. So it's an assumption I'm making. But you know, again, we're really bullish on the strip and all the great people that we run into all the time here. So
yes. Well, once again, thank you, Jay. If you want to find Jay or you're having difficulties finding Jay, I'm going to tag him in all of the posts today. So be sure to follow him on Liquor Donuts and his also personal
it's
IG
just
page.
J.Joly.
J.Joly. And yeah, aside from that, I mean, I have a lot of questions. I know you're a busy man. I want to delve more into your personal life, but we'll save that for maybe a part 2 one day.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe we could after the event is over, maybe we could sit down and talk about some more stuff if you're cool with that after January 10th. So thank you again. And shout out to everybody listening. Once again, you are the Who and How Club. I am the Who and How Club. We are the Who and How Club. We're the Who's and How's of the world. I've been talking with Jay Joly, and we're at 211 Geary today, and we'll see you guys in the next 2 weeks for January 10th. Who Are You? Part 2. I'll touch base with you guys next week. Thanks. 1.
Cheers.